Okay, well, welcome to this week's version of the Yamhill Leadership Roundtable. We have with us today Council President Kelly Minke from the city of Mcminnville.
My last day as council president.
Soon to be Councilor Minke.
Councilor Minke.
Yes, welcome again. We have Takesha Wydrow from Sheridan Revitalization Committee and all things West Valley, realistically. We have Joya Goodwin from the Mcminnville Chamber of Commerce. We have Al Bannon from Congresswoman Bonamici's office. Thanks for joining us, Al.
Thank you.
We have Mayor Linda Watkins from the City of Carlton. We have Steve Sugg from the Dayton School District, which is silly because we're neighbors. And I'm Yamhill County Commissioner Casey Kula. So welcome. Thanks for everybody for joining us today. And we have not like the hard-hitting special guests this week, but there's still a lot that's happened in the last week, including me checking in with Al to make sure our Congresswoman was safe. So with that, I would love actually to turn it over to Al to share with us what is happening in Congress and what's happening in a Congresswoman's life that we need to know about here. And thank you.
Yeah, hi everyone. As everyone knows, there was a horrific attack on the Capitol and our democracy last week. Fortunately, the Congresswoman and all of our staff are safe. Congresswoman Bonamici did have to shelter in place for a couple hours while this was happening. We've all been reading a lot of news about it. I think I'm happy to answer any questions, but I think just the most important top line things to say is that the Congresswoman is calling for accountability for all who violated the law. She knows that our democracy has endured many threats and challenges and believes that we can endure this one as well, but holding those accountable for their actions is the number one priority right now. I don't know if there's any specific questions that anyone has about what's happening in the House, or if anybody wants to just like have an open conversation about it. I think, this is kind of a new territory for all of us. So does anyone have any questions or specifics that they want to know? Yeah, Councilor Minke.
Are they definitely voting on impeachment today?
They're not voting today, but I believe it's tomorrow.
Tomorrow, okay.
Is that right, Commissioner Kula? I shouldn't have to ask you, but I believe it is tomorrow.
That's what Twitter tells me.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I've just been reading the news things and I haven't gotten specific information, so I was curious.
Yeah, the House will be voting to impeach, and I believe, and that is happening tomorrow.
And thank you, Al. I think that one question I have, and I've obviously been checking in with you a lot about this, but I don't want to set aside the horrific events of the last week, but I do also want to ensure that with events going forward, including inauguration in 8 days, that the Congresswoman's going to be safe.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I know that that's a question that our office is getting a lot, and we appreciate everybody, holding the Congresswoman and the safety. I can say that we are taking safety as a number one priority in our office, and the Congresswoman is as well. And I know that the House and the Congress is doing everything they can to keep folks safe. So, yes.
Well, this week it's coming up with the inauguration and everything. Will it all be virtual, basically, or are there going to be parties and things like that? I was just curious.
I haven't heard anything specific. I do believe that they're still planning on having the inauguration in person. I know that there are a lot of calls from folks to do it virtually. If you want my independent opinion, I believe that they will still do it in person. I think that it's one of those things, just as, the day of the violent attack, the members they held themselves in their office for a couple hours and then they went right back to work, because what's important is showing America that our members of Congress want to get the work done and they aren't going to be beat by these horrific attacks. So I would think that they're still going to do it in person, but I can guarantee that there will be quite a big collection of military and armed forces to protect.
Well, that's good to good to know, I guess. I still personally have concerns that 15,000 unarmed National Guard are going to be enough for this fairly large occasion. But you probably have already heard from me about that. I also have another question, I guess, Al, which would be how is implementation and the directing of funding going from the COVID relief bill?
You know, Commissioner Kula, I can't say that I've heard anything between last we met last Tuesday and this week about that, given the way that our conversations have been derailed. But I do know that it, you know, of course, it remains a top priority for the Congresswoman of COVID recovery and economic relief. I know that PPP loans have started and folks can start applying for those. So that's really great. I haven't heard any big hiccups yet this time. So I'm going to go ahead and say that the implementation process is moving ahead a little smoother. But if anybody is noticing anything that is not on my radar, please let me know. And I'm happy to connect with any federal agencies that can answer any questions.
And Joya, actually, have you heard from businesses about that? I have actually not heard of any hiccups, so.
I have not heard of any hiccups. I think I agree with Al that there's a smoother process, it seems. And although I was speaking to a local banker who told me last time that the PPP was available, they were just inundated, and people have sort of taken a little bit of a backseat, I think, to applying. 501c6s are eligible to apply this time. We, chambers of commerce were not allowed to apply the last time. There's a question about the forgiveness piece that I don't know, Al, if you heard anything about that, but there is a quick process, but there's no direction about whether chambers of commerce can actually apply for forgiveness. So there's a question about how that's going to roll out. And I only say that because of my own, where I am, right, and what I do for a living. So I haven't heard much about that. But as far as the businesses go, PPP open for first-time applicants through CDFIs and small banks, et cetera, community banks, et cetera. And then on the 13th, which is tomorrow, it opens for second round people who are applying for a second round of PPP through CDFIs. Next week is when all the big banks should have the ability to do the rollout of PPP funding. So that's what I know, unless you have another question. Thanks.
And no, thank you for that. I figured that while Al hears from lots of people, you also have a fairly, your ear is to the ground. But I wanted to then follow up with that. Al, have you, the commissioners were contacted by Leslie Caldwell from Taste Newburgh, specifically about, there was some concern that organizations who had received prior CARES Act funding would not be eligible for PPP. And I'm not sure if whether Joya knows about this, whether it was C6s who had received, because she was actually, Leslie was actually reaching out to us because, like Mcminnville Chamber, she had received money from the county.
I have not heard anything about that. I have not been told that we were ineligible, because if you can apply for PPP, you can also apply for EIDL loans and things like that. And so I don't know if we have been eliminated from that because we did receive funds. And it's funny that you say that, because I had a similar question and I just haven't had the opportunity to ask. So I've got to call my friends at SBA and ask them. But I don't even know if they know yet, because the Treasury is still working on the I guess the interim final rules on how this will all work out.
Yeah, Commissioner, I'm not sure the specifics on that, but if you want to connect me with that person, if they're still not clarification on that, I'm happy to reach out to our folks and see if I can get clarity.
Al, if you'd send anything you find from them to me as well too, I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I want to make sure that $15,000 from the county doesn't disqualify these organizations who've been doing important work over the past 10 months. Doesn't disqualify for them from a PPP loan, or PPP forgivable.
Great. Yeah. Let's connect about that afterwards, and we'll see what we can do.
That sounds good. Within the county, we were talking about it, but nobody really knew because we're not as connected as Al is. Other comments or questions for Al, or did you have anything you wanted to follow up with?
Yeah, I just want to let folks know that as we get into this new year that is the 12th, and it feels like we've already been a couple months into 2021, but the Congresswoman will be continuing to have town hall meetings, but as you know, as coronavirus continues to run rampant in our community, she will be holding them virtually for the foreseeable future in the year, but the dates are starting to come out. So the first one that she'll be holding is on February 17th. And you can find more details about that on her website, which is bonamici.house.gov, or you can sign up for the bulletin, which will give constant reminders, and I will post a link to that in the chat.
That's great. Constant reminders. I like that. Yes, it really should be called the Bonamici Bulletin, but I don't think it actually is.
Is it just called the Bulletin?
I think it's just called the Bulletin, but come on, use those alliterations.
We
right?
do love I love alliteration.
Then you should add a B to your name, right?
Val Bannon.
Yeah. It's a new world. We can change our names.
Sure, I've already done it once.
Okay, well, thank you. Are there any more other questions or comments for Al? All right, great. Thank you so much for joining us. It's sometimes I feel so irresponsible for laughing when we, 5 minutes ago we were talking about an attack on the Capitol. But I really appreciate. I think this goes back to Congresswoman Bonamici is always working on many different things, some of which are really hard, some of which expose her to coronavirus and to attacks from terrorists. And then others are her working really hard to address childcare access. So I just want to acknowledge that it's amazing how many different things she can work on. And with that, I am going to switch over now to our newest mayor, or one of our newest mayors, Mayor Linda Watkins. And Mayor Watkins, thank you for joining us. As we have talked about, this group primarily started to focus on addressing coronavirus, both the public health and the business response side. But we also address a number of other areas, right? And one of those is housing and affordable housing. And you and Councillor Menke were just talking about that. So whatever you want to speak to your community about, feel free to, but also share with the folks who are arrayed here.
Well, yeah, so we're just kind of bumbling into some of that. So any information or any place where I can get information or ideas or whatever, I'm right now, I'm just kind of begging for it, because we're kind of looking around trying to figure out what to do or how to get it done. We just, the housing, basically everything we've got is single family homes. The new ones that are going in, that they said, well, we'll put some apartments up there too someday. So the new houses that are going in are starting, Kelly, Councillor Menke is laughing because we've heard this before, haven't we? And we're looking at the new houses that are going in are starting at 400,000. Of course, that depends on if they have to go back in and redo all the drainage system too. Who knows what it'll come up to then? We told them. All I can say is we told them. So, but we don't have, the community home builders had a group that they were going to be starting down there, a little combination of townhouses and smaller housing. At the time, they were looking at, and I'm kind of surprised they haven't started it yet, because this was like 2 years ago that they got the approval to go ahead and put it in, but they've done nothing. It was only going to be like maybe 12 homes, but 12 homes is 12 homes. So I think we're going to be looking for any kind of assistance we can get, whether we're talking funding or support or ideas or whatever. I'm just kind of starting from ground zero, I guess, on this.
Well, if we get a date specified, I'll let you know. How's that? You can
That would be great. Yeah, I would love to start getting some ideas, because we just, it's just not something.
Yeah, we meet, the Affordable Housing Committee meets the fourth Wednesday of each month at 10 in the morning. Okay. So you're welcome to come if you want to. Just ask Heather Richards for, or let me know and I'll ask Heather for you for an invite.
What I might do is check with the council and see if there are any other counselors. We have a couple that might be interested, that we can have them do it, so I'm not doing everything.
We're meeting a lot. A lot of what we've done is expand the housing type products because of House Bill 4001 and other, and 2001 and that. We've been trying to expand our ability for different housing types. We're looking at SROs this week, which are single resident occupancy type of things, dormitory type living even.
Right. Yeah.
So for people, that are single, or, a couple that, something they can afford to live in, and possibly even get meals and stuff delivered to the site or have them made on the site.
Yeah. It's like they were, go ahead.
We just have a very limited housing inventory types up until very recently.
And that's the same thing here. We're primarily single family. Like I said, there are a few duplexes. I think the only apartment buildings are the old school that was converted into apartments. Beyond that, I don't know of any other apartment buildings in town, really. So yeah, and there's just a piece of property down the street from me that it was an old nursery, and the old greenhouses have been on it up until a week ago. They pulled them down, and it's a huge piece of property. And one of the other counselors and I were walking out there the other day going, this would be a great tiny home area.
Cottage cluster or something like that?
Yeah, exactly. In fact, she was...
You have that, you've got to have it in your code, though, is the issue.
Well, and one of the things that we're doing right now is having, it'll be starting, we have almost a whole new planning commission. And our planner, our former city planner, and our engineer have been going through the planning code, and marking the areas that needed to be changed and updated. So we're actually going to get after our planning commission. I think we've got some good people on there who really care and are going to be involved in it. We had a planning commission that met maybe 4 times a year, depending on how many things were going on, because if there was nothing else scheduled for that month, they'd just cancel the meeting. So,
Mayor, one thing that the Planning Commission may want to consider, and maybe you can even check in about this, is that Kenna West, the city manager for Willamina, had initiated essentially a wholesale look at their building codes, trying to figure out how they could reduce lot sizes, reduce the cost of infrastructure, specifically to provide that, essentially tiny starter home scale, with the hopes of reducing the cost overall of getting into a home. So it might be something to consider, is checking in with the city of Willamina.
Yeah, I think that would be a good idea. For one thing, because both Willamette and Carlton are smaller sized cities, you might
Right.
come under the rural designation. McMinnville's too big for it. We're too small for a lot of other things. So,
Yeah.
but if you fall under that rural designation, I think there's funding available.
Okay, that sounds like, yeah, she's going to be, in fact, she's going to be helping us with our new city manager interviews this week. So, yeah.
That's
Yeah,
great.
maybe by Friday we'll have a city manager, which our interim city manager will be very grateful for, which, and we're kind of sorry to lose Christy as the city manager, actually. She's been doing a great job, but we'll be working on that. So maybe we'll have a chance to visit a little bit about that.
That would be great. And that's also a great update for your community is this interview process happening.
Yeah, this has been, boy, it's Jensen Strategies are who we hired to work through on this, and he has done a really interesting job. I mean, it's been very thorough. I think he's been very deliberate about everything. We actually had 33 applications when they set out the first application. And he had whittled it down to 15 that he brought to the council. We were tasked with whittling that down to 4. And so the 4 who we're going to be dealing with this week. And we've got, let's see, we have a virtual meeting tonight for the whole community. And then I think there's also a virtual meeting tonight for just city staff. Then we've got interviews with a citizens interview committee. We've got interviews with 3 current city managers in this area. There's an interview with, who are the other ones? Oh, the city department heads, and then interviews with the city council. So those are the 4 interviews that they will all be going through, plus the 2 virtual meetings. And then on Friday, we're going to have to finally step up to the plate and make a decision.
Just keep in mind, you do not have to choose from those 4. You can always go out again.
And this is true. Yes. Yeah. That was unfortunately what we did last time. The council was kind of pressured into making a decision that they really should not have made. So,
But hopefully you'll find a really good person.
you know, these 4 applicants look real interesting. So we'll just, we'll see what happens when they get in here. You can't tell until you meet somebody in face to face. So we'll just see how it goes, or if they want to come,
Yeah,
So-
and Mayor, I was going to ask you, you and I talked about high costs of utilities in the city. And I do think that similarly to how sometimes you can get internet out in the rural areas, but it's going to cost you a tremendous amount. I can see that is also a barrier to moving into the community, is if you just can't afford the water and sewer on an ongoing basis. Can you explain to the rest of us kind of the situation around that?
Oh, that's a good one. Basically, what has happened for us with water and sewer is that for the last, I think it's been almost 30 years that the city tried to avoid raising water rates. And I think it was in 1998 that we had our flood or not flood, but our mudslide that basically reduced our water source to half capacity. And all the council just kept kicking the can down the road because they didn't want to raise water rates and they didn't want to ask for money. So now we're looking at a situation where even with, and we thank our state delegation for this. Senator Boquist and Representative Noble both worked on it a couple of years ago and got us almost $10 million. It was 9.2, I think 9.2 or $9.5 million to dredge out the reservoir and also replace our water transmission line, our main line from the reservoir down. We are right now losing due to just leakage and breaks in the line, about 40% of the water that comes through that water line. Yeah, really. Yeah, that's what they're estimating. So exactly. But we didn't have the money to fix it.
Clean water, right? This is like potable.
Well, it's coming from the reservoir down to the filtration system.
Okay, so it hasn't been filtered at least yet.
Yeah, it's the main transmission line. But yeah, so that's what we've been working with for since 1998, I think is what it was. And nobody wanted to raise the rates. So about 3-4 years ago, we brought in a consultant, and we're trying to get caught up with all of that. But yeah, the houses, and I don't know at this point, I'm not really sure that we're that much off from a lot of other cities. I know if I did a general request on Facebook to friends, just how much are you paying for water a month, and got some really interesting replies there. But my water, our house is small. It's like 1,100 square feet. There's my husband and I. We do 2 showers a day. We do laundry a couple of times a week, and we run the dishwasher maybe 3 times a week, plus, just regular drinking water, whatever. And we're at, our base is 137 a month. So I don't know. We'll find out what Mcminnville's is, because for the 4 months that we're going to be dredging our reservoir, we're going to be buying water from Mac. So, that may be a reality check for folks in town who keep saying, well, can't we just shut this off and buy water from Mcminnville? And we're kind of going, it might not be that simple, and it might not be that much less expensive. So we'll see what that looks like. So yeah, this summer we'll have 4 months where we'll be offline. We've been working on a, agreement with Mac Water and Light to use their water.
Yeah, and your team has been doing a great job of working with Yamhill County Public Works, since your pipe is going to go the distribution line is going to go right down the middle of Panther Creek Road. So good job. Way to be awesome.
I think some of that line was already there a long time ago. When I first came to Carlton, I was hearing about that there was already an intertie between Mac and Carlton. It was just a matter of tidying it up a little bit and getting things ready to go. So I don't know. You may know, Councillor Minke. I don't.
I think there's been an agreement for quite a while. I remember Rick talking about it when he was mayor, and they were working on it at that point in time, and I'm pretty sure it's a done deal. So I'm not entirely sure how it interfaces, though, and what it takes to get it going.
Well, there's nothing, as far as I know, no agreements have been signed yet. Certainly not for the four months. I know that has not been done.
Yeah, because you should have some idea what your rate will be and stuff like that. I find that hard to believe.
We're still kind of working on it. A lot of
exciting
through the cracks the last 2 years, but yeah, we're pretty excited about this, and getting this done is going to be.
Oh, it'll be much better for you guys. I'm so happy for you.
Yeah, but and we've still got, the thing of it is that we've still got a couple, at least I think $3 million that we're looking at for sewer work too, and the ponds over there that has been delayed, that they've stalled on doing and not doing. And DEQ is now saying, you either do it or you're going to start paying for it anyway. So, we've got to find the money for that. So we've had the office staff putting together a timeline, working on a timeline and kind of a narrative of why we are where we are right now with our water costs and our systems. And I don't know what's happening in Yamhill. I know that Yamhill just is going to be seeing a big rate increase there too, because they've had to upgrade some things that they were kicking down the road in the can. So
Well, I would say we should invite Lori Gilmore on, but she's been shy lately, so she's watching in the audience, and she's the city recorder. So
Yeah, Scott Hill could probably shed some real light on this too. I'm sorry he's not here today.
Yeah.
we'll make sure he gets on and to talk about these issues because he's definitely very knowledgeable. Are there other questions or comments from Mayor? And then I will head to Councilor Menke.
Other than that, we're still, let's see, we've reiterated with the state of Oregon that we really do want the realignment.
That's what I was going to ask you.
The day after I was sworn in, I sent the letter over to him. So, yeah, we're going to have that. It's still, and Casey, you and I talked about this a little bit. We still are going to need to think of something to do with this county. Public transportation right now, I keep looking and thinking some kind of public transportation is going to be the way we're going to have to look at things, but we cannot, I mean, literally Carlton has rush hour traffic jams. We do have traffic jams. Both at Pine Street and at Yamhill Street. And this is now, and where a lot of the building is going to be coming from, people are going to be using, they're still going to be using West Side Road, even though it may not be a designated, certainly the trucks won't be, but vehicles, I mean, we have cars coming through here, which means Yamhill's getting them too. We're going to have to do something. And we need to start giving it some real thought.
And that's a good reminder, Mayor. I promised the mayor that I would pull together the mayors and commissioners to talk about issues kind of with traffic across the county to figure out whether it's something we need to lobby to ODOT or we need to work within each other on. But obviously, as Mayor talks about, it's a big deal. I mean, Joya knows as much as anybody here, being in your office, right? You get to see backups that they don't seem like they're from around here. I'll just say that. They don't seem like they're from a town of 34,000 people.
Where's your office, Joya?
It's on Adams Street. So literally right by, between 4th and 5th or 5th and 4th.
Yeah.
There's a lot of traffic.
There's a lot of traffic. And this is an old house. And when the trucks go by, everything shakes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I'm not complaining. I love this old house. But it's interesting.
Yeah, well, our citizens love their old houses too, but their old houses are on Pine Street and on Yamhill Street. And at 4 o'clock in the morning, the trucks go by.
Ooh.
It's not pretty.
Oh, that's tough. Yeah.
I mean, I live a block off Main Street and I have literally been shaken awake at 4 o'clock in the morning by trucks going down West Main Street.
Oh, wow.
It's not a good situation.
Well, let's plan to have one of our roundtables in February be a meeting specifically to address transportation issues in the county, because each town has its own pinch points that they're coming from somewhere, right? It's either commuting traffic or it's trucks to the landfill. We all have it somewhere, and I think it would be good to get together on it, at least explore some options.
Thank you. We need to start talking now. I think we're at a tipping point pretty close to, if we don't get started on it pretty quick here.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Councilor Menke, what would you like to share with the community today, besides your knowledge about housing and codes and zoning?
I'm going to just say it's been delightful listening to everybody. I really appreciate the information from Al and for the new mayor of Carlton. And what a pleasure. But I got to go, unfortunately. So at any rate, Remy can talk about almost anything I can talk about. So, and she's here.
That's right. Thank you for that reminder. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah,
and actually to that end, I will then go to Councilor Drapkin if you're available. Let's see. Oh, yes. Welcome. What would you like to share with the community on behalf of the city of Mcminnville?
What would I like to share? So The county health is reporting more success getting vaccines this week. I did hear in a Zoom meeting today earlier that as we all know, we're struggling with that. Only about 1.5% of Oregonians have been vaccinated this far, but I believe we did receive 700 doses for the county. Hold on, let me get to a starting page here.
Yes, you're right about the 700 doses, and that's maybe
Is that total, or is that on top of the 500 that we discussed last week?
So we're at I think that over the previous weeks it's been 200, 100, and then this week we're receiving 700.
Oh wow! So 700 coming just in this 1 week.
Right.
Great.
But if you think about the number of people in our county, that's that's like 4 years.
Sure.
Especially since it's a half a dose, right?
Right.
It's a half of a coverage.
Right.
But,
And as Director Manfred reported in here last week, they've been, County Public Health has been working on a plan since November. And I think she said overall we're set up to be able to administer something like 500 doses a day. So.
yes, that was the 500. You're right.
Yes, okay. Mcminnville is continuing to pursue a potential fire district. Currently it looks as though what's being reported to me is that it has union support. So this would be Amity Fire, Mac Rural, Carlton Fire, Lafayette City, Mac City, Dayton Fire Board, and potentially Dundee. We're also looking at, we have a number of affordable housing properties in the city of Mcminnville that are either currently on the market or coming on the market. So the Mcminnville Affordable Housing Task Force was able to connect, actually thanks to this meeting. So thank you, Commissioner, with both Wyden and Merkley's office and and they've agreed to meet with the city of Mcminnville as we look at potential options for how to preserve those as affordable housing units and what dollars might be available out of the recent CARES Act.
And are those, sorry, Counselor, are those specifically for, I feel like you said something about them being RV parks or trailer parks? Or is it just kind of in general?
Yes, and both. So there is some, I understand that there are mobile home parks that are going to be coming on the market. And so that would be a potential loss of affordable housing. There's also currently an apartment complex that does provide affordable housing that's on the market. And so, so we're paying attention. I have a lot of information on wine in my notebook right now. I just was at an 11 a.m. meeting like this with the Oregon Wine Board, and I don't think that this is the right place to repeat all of that information.
Hey, it's important to our community.
It is important to our community. It's kind of an overwhelming amount of information that I haven't entirely had time to really organize mentally yet. So I don't want to waste people's time. But I will say that I'm one of two newly appointed members of the Oregon Wine Board. So if people do want to reach out, have specific questions regarding the wine industry, and that I am also a good connection for you there now as well. And I'm doing a lot of intense training, and because through this appointment now, I am going to be doing my 3rd DEI training in 6 months. So just happy to report out that our organizations are mandating DEI training for their appointees. And I hope more organizations and businesses continue to do that throughout everywhere. That's it. I'm going to stop talking.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Are there questions for Councillor Drapkin? I know. I was like, hey, Joya, I could sense it.
You just could feel it, huh? Thank you. Councillor Dropkin, so those housing units that you were talking about that were up for sale, how does that, I mean, the city would buy them? How does that work? Okay.
No, well, first of all, we lost our entire budget for affordable housing. So my committee works on a $0 budget. So no, we wouldn't be. So what we're doing is what we often try to do at the city, which is provide the table and start bringing the right parties together. So we're aware of things that will impact the broader Mcminnville community, and we try to pay attention to where there might be funding available, and then who could use that funding and put those partnerships together. And so that is the role we're providing, as it is important work for the city at large.
And it's my understanding that, at least in the past, the state, the Oregon Housing Community Services has been very supportive of the purchase, or helping with the purchase of trailer parks by the residents. So I don't know if that's something you're looking at.
We are engaged with Oregon Housing and Community Services on as this goes forward, but I don't know that specifically. But thank you, and I'll take it back to city staff and ask that same question. Thank you.
I know that amongst the fire, the wildfire response meetings, the governor made it very clear that she was a big supporter of. She reiterated her support for trailer parks if there was a question of ownership. That they help figure out how to have the residents purchase them as a cooperative. And I believe that we have at least one in the city of Mcminnville beside Betty Lou's. I forget the name of it, but the one beside Betty Lou's, I'm pretty sure is. Yeah, it's a good place to start, right? Okay, I'm going to move on to Superintendent Sugg, if he's available. If he doesn't turn his camera on, then we'll move to Joya Goodrum, but he may be away from his computer at the moment. All right, well, then let's go to Joya Goodrum from the Mcminnville Chamber of Commerce. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us all the time and sharing your knowledge.
Thanks. I really appreciate being asked to be here. Because I get a lot of great information that I get to share with our business community as well, and make connections, many connections across not just our county, but through our entire state. So I appreciate that. Really quickly, we've talked about the PPP a little bit earlier. I just want to let people know, if they're thinking about applying for the PPP, things that they need to know is what your annual payroll was for 2020. For 12 months, and what you would do is divide that by 2, divide it by 12 and multiply it by 2.5, and that is how much money you can apply for. So that's an important number to know. So do the work now, have copies of your taxes and those kinds of things ready in case you need that as well. And I've actually filled out the paperwork. It's sitting right here, and I'm waiting to have a bank talk to them about applying for it for the chamber as well. The other thing that's happening here at the chamber is we've created a minority business alliance, and it's basically an opportunity for us to connect with our minority businesses here in our community. We've never really done this before. So today we're having our first meeting at 2 o'clock with our new committee, and I'm super excited about it. I'm not really sure which direction we're going to go in, but I'm excited that we're at least talking about how we can connect in a better way with our minority business owners within our community. So I'll keep you posted on that. I really don't have much else to really share. We're looking at, business support series, topics that might be of relevance to our members. And so, we just keep doing the work that we do and sending out information and keeping people informed. So thank you for this time. I appreciate it. And I've got to cut off in about a minute or so. Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you, Joya. Takesha Wydro, what would you like to share with the community?
Okay, a couple things. We're working on another cleanup that will be probably in March or early April, and we'll promote that as soon as we get a little bit more information. We're also working on a mural program that we're really excited about. Just waiting on a few things and then working out. We have a little bit of funding, but enough probably to start our first mural. But the idea is that it'll carry through and be a make sure to be a little bit more of a destination for artists as well. And
which it kind of already is in a way. I mean, I feel like there's so many in your zip code.
Yes, I agree. Yes. I also was really excited to hear that the artist Erin Hansen was moving to Mcminnville. She's actually a Delphi Los Angeles graduate. So I know people that she knows. And so that's really exciting to find out that she was moving to this area. I was just wondering, has anyone been dealing with an increase in vandalism in the towns? Like Sheridan's been dealing with that quite a bit in the last 3 weeks. It seems a lot of it is more childish things like cutting Christmas decorations and, you know, like silly stuff like that. And I'm wondering if it's maybe, you know, teenagers that are bored because they are not in school, that kind of thing. And maybe it's just happening in Sheridan, but I've just noticed there's been a decided increase in that kind of thing going on. Okay. I would guess that they're bored, you know, that would seem to be, if there are no sports and all that. So hopefully sports can at least get back. I know that the gyms are all closed, which is really, I mean, like the gyms for the students, I don't think any of the gyms are open right now for the students either. So, and with our weather being as it is, challenges, but okay, I think that's about it. I mean, I'm encouraging people with the payroll protection program to get the applications in, and had a good meeting with Frank. Frank is also, they're starting, the city council is starting the application process also, because he's looking at retiring, well-deserved retirement, I believe next year. So that's it for me.
That was a very comprehensive update for a whole city, so I really appreciate it. Mm-hmm. I do want to put a plug that, you know, the Green Bridge doesn't need to be the Green Bridge. If Erin wants to, you know, paint it in a much more interesting manner, let's do it, right?
Well, we are looking at doing lighting on the bridge that can change color depending on the, you know, holiday or the season or whatnot. So it might not always be exactly green. It might be, you know, pink or whatever.
Well, I'm excited about that. Let me know how I can help.
Thanks.
And you know, I mean, if we're going to have like a really like a famous artist coming to town, we should exploit that, I think would be the right word.
Entirely. Well, she's coming to Mcminnville, but I'm sure Sheridan will take advantage.
Definitely. I mean, her ties to the school, it'll be perfect.
It'll be perfect.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank you, and I wanted to check in to see if Superintendent Sugg was with us. Maybe. Oh, yes. Welcome back. What would you like to share with people in the district and with the county here today?
Nothing. I'm just, you know, we're awaiting the opportunity for the staff to get vaccinated, and waiting for the 19th when ODE will put out their next round of guidance for us, so maybe we can start bringing students back. We did start limited in-person instruction up again today, so that went well, and so we're anxious to get kids back in the buildings, and so we're anxious about the vaccines and the guidance that's coming out next week.
Great. And Superintendent, do you have any sense of when your teachers might be able to access the vaccine? I suppose that's probably an answer that I should know, but.
Well, last we heard, the health department was able to give us was they estimated kind of towards late January, early February. So we haven't heard anything more, although we did get, a request for organizations to sign up and let them know how many we would need at that time. So we're still waiting to find out exact dates.
Okay, good. Well, I'm just so you know, I'm pushing for it. I think my most recent email to anybody was they're like, let's get 10,000 doses into the county so that we can, get everybody on 1B done, in a weekend. So watch out.
All right. I like it.
Okay, and then after teachers are vaccinated, is the plan then to go right to open for in-person or a hybrid or?
I don't know. Lindsay would know the answer to that question.
Well, I will ask you again, and I'll ask her again, and we'll find out. But I'm pretty sure that both students and parents are pretty excited about this. So
Yeah, most of our parents want to have their kids back in school as soon as they can.
thank you for being with us today. I appreciate it. Are there any questions for Steve as a superintendent? All right, great. Thank you very much. And we're at 1:50, and Joya still hasn't had to go to her meeting, so we're in a good spot. I do want to note that there was a request to a call out for dates of state of the city addresses or meetings. And I know that some of the cities do a state of the city. Mayor Watkins, is there any plan for the city of Carlton?
Well,
We kind of want to get it on a calendar.
actually, it was last Tuesday. I was sworn in last Tuesday, so I did mine then. I'm trying to think. I do have it posted on my mayor's page on Facebook. It's just Linda Watkins, Carlton Mayor, and it is posted on there. I ran through, what we've got going on. This is the first time this has been done in Carlton, so we're still just kind of, but basically just ran through what we're looking at over the next year, which, is what it is. So, but that's where you can find it.
Okay, sounds good. I know that Sedcor and Abishaw Stone, our economic development contractor, had offered to organize one for the county, but that was before coronavirus took over all aspects of my brain, and hers as well. Yeah, but stay tuned, and perhaps Councilor Drabkin knows about the city of Mcminnville. I know that they're planning their annual awards, at least.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to my calendar right now. It's 5 p.m. on February 11th, and it'll be via Zoom.
Great, thank you very much. And stay tuned if we can get something together. If not, maybe we can do a roundtable of mayors on this call at some point.
Well, Commissioner, Portland does theirs in like April, so I feel like you can probably pull it together by end of February, right? Still
I don't know. We'll see, right?
Still the beginning of the year.
Well, confession, Al, sometimes I have so many things like in here that at any one moment I'm like, I don't know what we did in the last year. I think it comes, I was a biochemistry major in college, and you had to like focus and drop everything, and then focus and drop everything. It's still with me. I trained my brain. I did want to note that the Lori Gilmore from the city of Yamhill was on, and her city and the county have been working for a long time on transferring ownership of the gas station that's actually, or the abandoned gas station that's right across the street from City Hall. And the county finally signed the documents agreeing to let DEQ clean up the site, which will result eventually in a no further action letter, and that'll allow the city of Yamhill to develop that site as they wish. And so we're super excited about that. And our county council is super excited to not have us own an old gas station.
Yeah, that'll be great. That's so right on the main street of Yamhill, that being able to do something with that will make a big difference for them, I think.
For sure. And in the meantime, they can have a parking lot at least. But realistically, I mean, it's a prime location for continued revitalization of the downtown.
Yeah. I'm very happy for them.
Yes. And then in county vaccine news, we're going to have a conversation tomorrow with the governor about vaccine distribution. But we will see where that leads. The last few weeks, I'm trying not to be annoying, but I have been persistent in asking that we get more doses more quickly and regularly into the county. And so my appeal to the OHA has been, we can do mass vaccinations if you give us the doses and you tell us that you're giving them to us, or directing the federal government to do it. So I do want to thank Al that Congresswoman Bonamici and the whole congressional delegation have been very effective on getting us doses of the vaccine free of charge and the tools to administer them. We still need to do the work of administering them, though. And for us, we have our emergency management plans for things like a biohazard event, and we know how to dispense biologics quickly and safely. And we just need to have the vaccine itself. So I keep working on that. Hopefully they're not too annoyed with me, but it's a vital issue in our community, that everybody who wants it has access to it. So stay tuned. I'll let you know how that goes.
Thank you.
Oh yeah. Any further comments? All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us this week. Thanks for watching out there. And if any of you need anything, reach out to one of us. There's some very, very knowledgeable people here on this call. And we'll see you next week.